Hey, what's going on, everybody? Paul from Hashtag Sports. Obviously, absent Mario today. Mario is a little busy, and today is Practice Squad Eligibility Day. So, lots of stuff to talk about. And I already see the chat is banging. So, let's give it up to Spin, Pierre, Jessica Tennis. Thank you guys for joining me right away. And as always, very much appreciate Jessica. You guys need to give more notice. Mario has 6 kids between the two of us. My youngest went down for a nap, so I called Mar. I was like, Mar, listen, I got like 45 minutes. What you doing? He's like, I'm in the car. I have stuff to do. I was like, all right. I'm gonna go live and talk about Practice Squad because it's the only day of the year anybody cares. So that's kind of what happens. So thank you again for joining. Hey, Apex is here as well. In case you haven't seen it yet, every Friday, 7:30, Tailgate Talk, which features Mike and Tommy from the Bills Mafia Sports Report. So come join them every Friday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, to talk to the Buffalo Bills. And we see Brett talks about the goose has landed. In case you guys can't tell, the very bottom of your screen, as you may notice, there's a running tab of the 15 players announced on your practice squad. Now, mind you, there's a few different players on here that you are. I mean, they're all retaining players. So these are all players the Bills have released or waived over the last few days. One thing you'll notice, though, is that there's a lot of very young players on this list. And we're going to talk about today the practice squad rules and eligibility, kind of how the practice squad is going to change over the course of the year, how this is different from last year, and, all that good stuff. John Veneron, looking forward to my icon turning green. Yes, as you see in the chat, if you're on YouTube, yeah, that's how this works. When your logo changes, that's because you've hit the join button on YouTube and you've subscribed to hashtag, and you're part of the exclusive club that gets all the cool gifts and logos next to your name and custom emojis, and you get episodes early. So that's how all that stuff works. So, all right, let's talk about this just a little bit, and be lightning in the chat as well as John Marlowe. Hey, John Marlowe, doing that beautiful thing. Just hit the like button. That's right. Smash that like button. Let's talk about the practice squad. Again, you're going to see a lot of names that you're already familiar with. Mike Love's been around for quite some time. Jameel Douglas was sort of a name that a lot of people were not disappointed, but a little surprised that got cut when he did. Jake Fromm was not really a surprise. Tanner Gentry, again, not a surprise that he's been retained. A little strange to see both Davis Webb and Jake Fromm on the practice squad. I have to imagine attrition is going to take one of them at some point. But let's go over the practice squad in total. Jack Anderson recently drafted this last year. He has been placed on the practice squad. Cam Lewis was not picked up by anybody. Mike Love is back. Quentin Morris is back. Josh Thomas is back. Brandon Bryant, who spent a couple seasons with Buffalo at this point. Jameel Douglas, Jake Fromm, Tanner Gentry, Davis Webb, and Rashard Wildgoose round everything out so far. So, no Bobby Hart. Now, mind you, the Bills can carry 16 players on their roster. So I don't want to say it's not going to happen. The Bills kind of carry Bobby Hart on the practice squad if they want to. And Pierre brings up a great point. McLeod actually did get picked up. There was only one Bills player claimed off of waivers, and it was McLeod. He ends up going to the Bengals. There was a lot of hoopla around the Reed Ferguson release, and Vita Vega says that Reed Ferguson had signed in a contract extension this last offseason, which seems to be sort of a kiss of death for long snappers in Buffalo. I remember Garrison Sanborn doing the same thing, and I think that was his final year here, if memory serves me correctly. But in order for a player to be put on injured reserve, they have to make the 53-man roster. Reed Ferguson is not going anywhere. They had absolutely no intention in any way of letting Reed play for another team. I don't think Reed wants to play for another team. He's pretty dialed into wanting to be in Buffalo. They did release Reed, and that just allowed Stevenson to make the roster and then IR him. You do have Isaiah McKenzie, so no rush getting Marquez Stevenson back. No reason to rush that at all. You can kind of take your time. Snapflow69, the greatest Twitter handle that you can find. Snapflow69 is a phenomenal handle. That is Mario in the chat under the hashtag sports name. For those of you keeping score at home. Hey, Chris, what's going on? So let's talk about practice squad a little bit and kind of the rules and regulations and how all that's going to work. Now, I did prepare some slides for you because that's what we do around here. I'm going to grab those slides real quick and we're going to go over them right now. Well, not right now, in just a second.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rogers, realtor and lead of the Mr. Rogers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona? Please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions so we can take the next step to your financial freedom here in the Valley of the Sun, utilizing real estate. As always, God bless America and go Buffalo!
Always love seeing Sean. Guy's a riot. He really is. You guys don't know what you're missing out. He is a riot. All right. So, this is how we're going to do this. I did prepare some slides, and I'm going to pull them up right now. And we're going to kind of go over, sort of what that, what the practice squad rules are, what those look like and kind of why it's important. Because the truth of the matter is, right, everybody is all up in arms about the practice squad, but only for one day out of the year. Today be that day, folks. Today be that day. So I'm going to pull these up right now and just get them all loaded so that way we're good to go, because Paul definitely did not know how to do this about 5 minutes ago. So here we go. Practice squad could actually carry 16 players, really 17, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. You're noticing a name not on this list, and it's Christian Wade, who was announced having season-ending shoulder surgery is likely on the table for him. The interesting thing is that he wasn't released, nor was he designated for the international player from any transactions that Buffalo has on BuffaloBills.com. Their transaction wire is absent anything involving Christian Wade. We'll get to the international player development program in just a second, but I did want to bring up, we are going to talk about Christian Wade, everybody's favorite running back, and kind of go over how all this works, because I think it's kind of an interesting topic. So I'm going to share my screen, because let's share my screen. Here we go. Share the entire screen. Again, guys, this is all new to me. So let's see how this goes. All right. Oh, wow. That is aggressive, isn't it? Yeah, that's aggressive. All right. And I will make this a little bigger so that way you guys can see. Okay, so the rules are teams can carry up to 6 players who have accrued more than 2 seasons in the NFL. A lot of times, practice squad really only limits you to being able to carry players with less than a few years experience. Actually, the rules are, and the previous rules were, you could have a 10-player practice squad, and you can have an unlimited of those 10. You can only have players with under 9 games on an NFL roster or less, and then sprinkled in there a couple spots for players with 3 accrued seasons or less. Well, the NFL with COVID and through the collective bargaining agreement changed that. They expanded that. So here's what we see now. Teams can carry up to 6 players who've accrued more than 2 seasons in the NFL, which was a rule change for last year. It allows veterans to be added to the practice squad, providing a wider range of players for teams to sign. Teams can also keep up to 4 players who've accrued no more than 2 seasons. The rest of the spots can be filled with players who have not accrued any seasons, meaning they are rookies and were not given on any active roster for at least 9 games. There's that 9-game rule that I had referenced a second ago. The increased size of each team's practice squad is now 16. Again, that's as of last year. Giving teams more roster flexibility, the league is to keep a 16-player limit for 2021. Great news for players and teams. Now, the Rams, this is from Rams Wire, they are participating in the International Player Development Program, much like Buffalo. They have a player who is going to be remaining on their practice squad, much like the Bills did with Christian Wade. So they'll actually be able to carry 17 players in total. Again, we haven't heard that designation for Christian Wade at this point. No reason to put him on injured reserve because there's no reason to put him on injured reserve. He could stay in the International Player Program, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Finally, the increase in size for each team's practice squad is, again, going to remain. It's going to keep players' dreams alive. So you're going to see a 16-player practice squad. Here are the rules for all of those. And this is kind of how this is going to run. I'm going to hide that now. This is how this is going to run. The Bills can have 6 players on their practice squad with unlimited, you heard that correctly, with unlimited practice squad. Unlimited. So you could have Bobby Hart on your practice squad if you want to, right? That's it. You can have Bobby Hart on your practice squad if he wants to be here, right? Mr. Diggs, as vets waived, do they have the option to not sign with another team? Yeah, they do. They have the option not to sign. They're free agents. If you have a veteran, so a player with more than 4 years NFL experience, or a player who has cleared waivers, they're now a free agent. They could sign with whomever they want for whatever they want. If they get offers from multiple teams for the practice squad, they're not required to sign with any of them. So that's not really it's not really a requirement. John Renner on Christian Wade is president of the Bills Mafia UK chapter. Listen, when it comes to the practice squad, 6 veterans can be on there. And if you're looking at this list right now, there's not many of them. Chris Janke brings this point up perfectly in the chat. Hey, Paul, right now, only Jameel Douglas fits the veteran designation on the practice squad so far. Douglas has 3 accrued seasons. So you're going to see this change. Right now, this is the Bills practice squad. I think this is probably what they want for now. And I think, again, you have to kind of wrangle this into this is good enough for right now. The Bills last year, remember they had Kenny Stills. Remember they had Devonta Freeman on their practice squad. These were veteran players that they had the spots to be able to add. They still have the same spots. There's no rule to say you can't use those 6 spots till later in the season. If they want to sign 6 veterans to the practice squad right now, they can. If those veterans are available and they want to be on somebody's practice squad. If they want to sign Todd Gurley to somebody's practice squad, they could sign Todd Gurley to their practice squad right now if he wants to be here. It all could happen, right? It's all on the table. Every player that's been released is practice squad eligible. And the Bills have plenty of veteran space. And I think that's where you're going to start seeing some attrition. In a couple of weeks, I expect them to see sort of a move from either Jake Fromm or Davis Webb. One of the 2 of them is going to stay. One of them is going to be gone. You may see a veteran added at that point. Devonta Freeman's actually available. He was released by the Saints. So I don't know if you'll see a return there. That I guess that's possible. Spin brings that up in the chat. Spin always on top of stuff like that. But to get specifically to Christian Wade. Christian Wade is interesting because the international player rules changed this year. So the way that it works now, which is not the way it worked last year, they could give Christian Wade the international player designation, and he's an extra player on their practice squad. There's no purpose in putting him on injured reserve because that means it's going to end his season. He did not make the 53-man roster, so putting him on IR ends his season. If they remain having him as their international player, right, he could be activated this year at any time. He's not stuck on as the 11th player on the practice squad who's unable to be activated like he has in previous years. The rules changed this year. So if Christian Wade has shoulder surgery, and in week 14 is okay and ready to go, the Bills can activate him if they want. The international players can be active now, just like a regular practice squad player. It's just an extra spot now. So that rule changed. So interesting designation, because we're not seeing Christian Wade on injured reserve, and that's on purpose. The season would be over because he didn't make the roster. But as an international player, he's like a bonus player. You normally don't see practice squad players hit IR. You don't see it. There's no reason to have a practice squad player on IR. Normally, you give him an injury settlement, you call it a day, and you walk away from it. Probably going to end up doing something similar with Christian Wade. They're going to leave him as an international player for now, and then you may see him ultimately released with an injury settlement, although I'm sure that will frustrate a lot of people. At some point, there's just no value in having him in the building anymore, right? We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a tough one for Bills fans to want to swallow. Everybody loves Christian Wade. You certainly can't beat the effort level. He wants to do it. I just don't. This injury is just probably going to be that's probably the nail in the coffin for 2021. And was he 31 or 30? Like, it's time to talk about it. But the reason he's not given an IR designation, he's an international player. He's a bonus spot for you anyway that can be activated to the active roster as of this year. So there's no purpose in putting him on injured reserve. Let's see here. Being wished Hollister the best of luck out there. It seems we've moved on. That's from Go Bills. I believe Hollister did sign with somebody. I'm not entirely sure who it was, but I do think I saw that Hollister did end up signing with somebody. You have to take chances, right? And if you look at the profiles, does Tommy Sweeney and Dawson Knox give you anything that Hollister doesn't already? I mean, apparently not in the Bills' eyes, but maybe they were willing to take the chance of, listen, we'll cut him. If he signs somewhere, great. If he doesn't, let's leave a spot open on the practice squad. And the Bills actually have an open practice squad spot. They've only got 15 players right now. So they do still have an open practice squad spot who could be for any veteran player. Any player that's a free agent right now, the Bills could sign to their practice squad if they want. And then any player could sign them off the Bills practice squad at any time. But that brings us to another rule, and I think it's important to talk about this. Every week, the Bills have the option of their 16 players that are on their practice squad. They can protect 4 of them. They have to designate this every Tuesday, every single week, and it can change. So what that means is they designate 4 players who other teams are not allowed to sign off their practice squad. And that's sort of the cool thing about the practice squad is it's a bevy of players who are in NFL buildings that you could sign right now and get on your team right now. They have to be added to your 53-man roster. But if you have a need at tight end, right? Let's say Buffalo loses Dawson Knox right now. Look at their practice squad, right? They have Quentin Morris, but let's say Quentin Morris is dealing with like a hamstring injury. He's unavailable. The Bills could, instead of signing a street free agent, they could say, listen, we know this is going to be a couple weeks. They could go and snatch somebody off another team's practice squad and say, listen, we're going to offer you an NFL contract. Here it is. You want to be a part of the Buffalo Bills? We need you here today. And that player can refuse or accept that. Practice squad players do not have to go to another team unless they are offered a 53-man roster spot. You can't take one player off one practice squad and add him to yours. That's not how it works. If you want a player from another team that's on their practice squad, they have to be part of your 53-man roster, and they have to remain there for a few weeks before they can be released. Then guess what happens? They go back through the waiver process again, and you have to start this whole thing all over again. So it's interesting to see how it all works out. It's a wild exercise. But hey, if Hollister has yet to sign, they're one player short on the practice squad right now. And Hollister absolutely would qualify for a veteran practice squad spot. So maybe that's what this is. Maybe that 15th spot is being vacated for Hollister. They already have, Quentin Morris on the practice squad, but there's no harm, no foul. If there's no market for Hollister, let's go. The Bills could sign John Brown to the practice squad. Sign any available player to their practice squad if they accept the offer. Scott Summers says, how about bringing in Brown back, moving Kumaro to the practice squad? Kumaro would not clear waivers. Let's just be honest about that, right? Signing Brown to the practice squad has far less liability than putting Kumaro on waivers. You put Kumaro on waivers because you'd have to. He's got less than 4 years of experience. He'd be subject to waivers. He's not a veteran. So any team could claim him at any time. If you put Kumaro on the practice squad, any team could sign him off the practice squad. So probably too much liability for Buffalo to want to take on, which is why he, made the active roster. John Herring says, what makes you think Brown wants to come back? I don't think Brown necessarily wants to come back. I'm just saying that it's an option, right? If Buffalo really feels like they want to do it, that's fine. But I would have to imagine the market would have to be pretty dry for John Brown not to be getting 53-man roster offers somewhere, right? I'd imagine that it's somewhere. Let's say hello to some OGs. Ron Enix, Matthew Harmon. Yes, sir. We got some OGs in the house. Josh Thomas is on the practice squad, Pierre. If you take a look down at the bottom, you'll see that we have that scroll going. Those are all your active practice squad players. And again, the Bills are short 1 right now. So, and Matthew Harmon calls it out. Listen, Smoke wants to be a number 1 through 3. Again, if you offer somebody a practice squad spot, it's not mandatory. They can accept or deny it. It's probably a standing offer. Especially for veteran players. You call them and say, listen, if you don't get an offer, let us know. But here's an offer for you. Let us know when you want to accept it. And then we'll talk. Right. I definitely expect the practice squad to have a lot of movement. I wouldn't expect at this point this practice squad to stay this way for the next 4 weeks, right? Like this is going to be moved quite often. And it should be, right? That's what this is for. This is for development, but it's also to make sure that your roster is okay. You can't be out there with players that aren't ready. I guess that's the easiest way for me to say that. You can't be out there with players who aren't ready. You gotta build a roster of players who are ready to go. Question in the chat comes, where is Duke Williams? As far as I know, Duke has not yet caught on anywhere. That's from Charity. I don't think Duke is caught on anywhere. I think he still remains unsigned. NFL.com doesn't have him signed anywhere, and I don't think there's anything on there that says that he's signed anywhere. Next up, Spin. How long is Stevenson going to remain on IR or is it for the entire year? I guess that's sort of the great thing that you can do right now is you put Stevenson on IR. You don't have to bring him back this year at all. Yeah, you have Isaiah McKenzie who can return kicks. You actually have Matt Breida who can return kicks for you as well. So you're covered in that respect, right? You don't have to bring him back. IR stints, they can be as short as 3 weeks, as Apex points out. Again, IR stints are for a variety of different things. So you could be on there for COVID-related symptoms. You can be put on the COVID list, which ultimately puts you on IR. You could be put on there for a variety of different reasons and then return. So no harm, no foul here, right? Little roster gymnastics. You add guys to the roster. You slide them to IR because really you don't need him. He's not well. So take advantage of the fact that you can move guys in and out. Take advantage of it, right? The rosters have never been more flexible on an NFL level than they are right now. You have a 16-player practice squad, which, by the way, rules we didn't talk about. You can, if you want, activate up to 2 players from the practice squad for every game, right? You don't have to, but you can. You can do that for each player twice. And what that means is you can bring them up to the 53-man roster. It expands to 55, and then they can dress for the games. You can do that for each practice squad player 2 times, and they can still remain on your practice squad. Oftentimes what happens, if you want to bring a player up from the practice squad, the old rules, and these still apply, but it's later in the season usually. If you wanted to bring a player up from your practice squad, he had to remain there for a certain number of weeks, and then you have to waive him to get him back down to your practice squad, right? And every team has a chance to pick him back up again. So if you have a practice squad player that goes and shows out and gets on a team's radar on game day, you might not be able to send him back down because you know he's going to go somewhere. Those rules aren't there until the 3rd time a player is called up from the practice squad. So again, newer rules. Those were new last year. I like those rules. Gives a lot of roster flexibility, which is great. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Let's see. A truth to hearts. People forget that Brown said he wanted to be here. And again, you never know. Like you may see John Brown return, but I don't think you'd see John Brown return to the active roster, right? I really don't. The Mafia Sports Report, the other side of our tailgate talk show, Fridays at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, says don't be surprised if you see Brandon Bryant called up to the 53-man this season. He has stuck around for so long. You have to imagine that at some point he's going to be tapped on. Ike Bucker fits exactly the same mold, right? Exactly the same mold. At some point, they're going to be called up because it's just one of those things. Jessica Tennis, do you think Doyle will accidentally get injured and be put on IR as soon as being seen someone he likes? That's the game, right? That's what the Stevenson move to IR is. You're doing it because you can. That's why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's allowed and you can. Yeah. You get a player that's a little banged up and you can bring guys on and off. Go ahead. We had mentioned this, Carmen, just a few minutes ago. What about Hollister? How about Hollister? You have an open practice squad spot for him. If there really is an opportunity to add Hollister to your roster, it's not going to be on the 53 right now. You do have an open practice squad spot. So if that offer may be standing, I'm not sure. They did not want to see him leave, but it's a numbers game. They kept a lot of defensive linemen. This is the game that you have to run. This is the game you have to run. The funniest thing about this, and John Marlowe, I'm glad you brought this up. Former Buffalo Bill Zay Jones still on an active roster with the Las Vegas Raiders, and John Brown couldn't cut it. So there we go. Fascinating, right? Fascinating how rosters get built in the NFL. But again, the practice squad is an in and out sort of relationship right now. And you want to start your roster with players who you spend a lot of resources in. You spend a lot of resources in the players that are in your practice squad right now. It's going to change. You're going to see veterans added. They did it with Deron Lee. They added a veteran linebacker because they had veteran spots available. You're going to see veterans added at some point. McBean, I'm referring to lovingly. Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean appreciate veteran presence just too much to have a practice squad full of basically all inexperienced NFL players. Tanner Gentry, sort of an interesting one to me because he played with both Trubisky in Chicago and now with Allen in Buffalo and in Wyoming. So Tanner Gentry is an interesting one. So when you start talking about the stars aligning for Tanner Gentry, communication shouldn't be an issue, right? I don't expect to see Tanner Gentry here on the 53-man anytime soon, but I expect to see him stick around. The chemistry is just going to look too good. With all that being said, I do want to remind everybody, September 11th, Mario and I are going golfing, and we want you guys to join us. Come join Paul and Mario at Diamond Hawk Golf Course Saturday, September 11th for the #Sports Not So Invitational. Come golf with these idiots in this 4-person scramble, which will feature golf with cart, dinner, hole-in-one contest, silent auction, and a live show with all proceeds benefiting Matthew 25 Farms. Registration could be found in the description of this video, and if you'd like to sponsor, email us at htagsports@gmail.com to help raise money for this great charity.
You? Are you signing up for that? I'm not.
Yeah. There we go. Matthew Harmon calling it a great cause. Matthew 25 Farm is an incredible organization. They donate and raise all their own produce, donate all of it to local food shelters, to, any organization that needs food. If somebody needs food, they could go to the farm and just go get food. They are located in Central New York, phenomenal organization, and we're so honored to be having an event for them. So come out, hang out with us. It'll be a riot. It'll be a great time. Let's see. Oh, yeah. John Venner, I got my ticket for dinner. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excited to finally shake some hands. Let's see here. Oh, hey, look at that. Rick joined us. Hey, great timing. Yeah. I know, Rick, you're not here to hear props on your farm. Everybody loves you, man. All right. So Chris brings up a great point. Hodgins. Oh God, I'm going to get blitzed again for saying his name wrong all season, aren't I? Screams to me a guy who you would protect from other teams signing every week. Yeah, and I guess that's sort of the cool little dynamic that the practice squad gives you with protecting players because it changes every single week. Like Dane Jackson was a player that they protected a few times because they called him up and then they sent him down and then like, we should probably protect him for a minute. Let's just protect him for a hot minute. And there's no limit to how many times a guy can be protected from being signed from another organization. So players like Devonta Freeman and Kenny Stills going into the playoffs, those might have been players that you protected because at any moment they could start for another organization. Maybe they didn't. I don't really recall, but that changes every single week. So it's not like they're deciding to protect Cam Lewis right now for the whole season. That's not how it works. Every Tuesday, they have to elect which players they're going to protect. Chris Janke says Bean loves his draft picks, and boy, are they right. And I think this practice squad kind of tells you that. Bean claimed, and we don't know this, right? But Bean claimed that they put in 0 waiver claims for any player in the NFL. And maybe that's true. You look at what their practice squad is right now, they clearly were happy with the roster that they had built. I do want to point out, though, that you did have Dan Morgan leave and go to Carolina. So I think there's a point where you don't want to give another team ammo that he's already invested in. Like Dan Morgan knows more about Buffalo than he knows about his current team. Let's just throw that out there right now. Let's throw it out there right now. I think you want to try to avoid making another team better when they have all your notes. Like Dan Morgan knows exactly what's going on within this organization. Like he's got the answers to the test. When Bean came here, he had the answers to the test from Carolina. Spin that right around. Dan Morgan was a huge part of this organization from a player personnel standpoint. Thrilled that he's getting an opportunity to climb the ladder, but he's going to have notes on Buffalo for quite some time. So always keep that in the back of your mind. There's another organization that knows Buffalo really, 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 really well. The way Buffalo knows Carolina, Carolina now knows Buffalo like that. So just be mindful and remember that. Let's see here. T. Dobbs, man, I'd love to see what Hodgins can really do. He's supposed to have very sticky hands. Shame we might never know how good he really is. The fact of the matter is injuries are injuries. And Hodgins just catches a ball like it's automatic. It's just automatic. Pierre says, I'd protect Wild Goose, Thomas, Douglas, and Morris. What players would you protect out of this list? Put in the chat which players you think you'd protect out of this list. There's a wide range of players, and they're all young. So which 4 of these 15 players would you protect? It's an interesting question because you probably want to make sure that you're protecting yourself from where you know you're short on your roster, but maybe you also want to protect the players that you know other organizations would be interested in, that maybe your depth is okay right now and you can afford to lose them, but you prefer not to. Put in the chat what you think that would be. Tangaris, Paul, I just got here. Please start over from the beginning. How about no? This time of year is just so much fun. This is really my favorite time of year. The roster building, you learn so much about this organization right now. And again, you take a look at those players on the practice squad, and 3 of them might not be here in 2 weeks. This is just the business of the NFL. There is a variety of veterans who I'm sure are going to think a practice squad in Buffalo is more attractive the longer into the season they're without a job. And Buffalo is going to take advantage of that. I think sort of when you look at the practice squad, what do we see? We have Jack Anderson, offensive guard. We have 2 cornerbacks in Cam Lewis and Rashad Wildgoose. We have a defensive end in Mike Love, a tight end in Quentin Morris, a safety in Josh Thomas, a defensive tackle in Brandon Bryant. Jameel Douglas is another offensive lineman. So you do have 2 offensive linemen in the mix, and Tanner Gentry, and then a couple quarterbacks. No linebackers, right? Which, that position bothers me and worries me a little bit from a depth perspective. So I kind of expect to see that position ring itself out a little bit, maybe a little reinforcement in the linebacker room through the practice squad addition. Again, they're only at 15. But that's the only position that I would say maybe we need to reinforce that a little bit, right? Is that linebacker position. Gills Harris made the practice squad, Chris. Did they just announce that? Did that one just happen? Huh. All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Apex. Well, I was just saying the linebackers were a little short on this list. So nailed it. Boy, asking you shall receive. Thank you, #Nation. Love you guys. All right. I feel good about this at this point now, right? I feel good about this. Linebacker room was bothering me a little bit. So I feel significantly better about this now. Love these protects, right? Thomas, Anderson, Douglas, and one of the CBs from Congratulations video. I think you have to protect one of these cornerbacks every week. I just have to imagine that it's got to be on there. Did I miss it? I want to specifically blame then Bill's Wire, where I pulled the practice squad list from. I wasn't typing all these things out, guys. Let's be honest. I copy and pasted it. I wasn't typing everybody's name out. I'm going to spell them wrong. I just copy and pasted. Elijah Griffin did make it. So Griffin is on the practice squad also. So 3 CBs, huh? What does that tell you? Tells you a lot, doesn't it? So how happy do you think that they are with their current cornerback room, right? So you have Cieran Neal, who Brandon Beane called one of the best tacklers on your team, which if that's not an earmarker for you're about to play some nickel linebacker, I don't know what is, right? You have Dane Jackson, you have Levi Wallace, you have Trey White, but you are one hamstring injury, you're one MCL sprain away from being in some big time trouble, right? In some big time trouble. And to retain 3 corners, that says a lot. that says that you may cut one or two of these corners to add a veteran at some point. I saw somebody mention Richard Sherman's name in the mix earlier. There's veteran corners everywhere right now. Are they going to make the 53 man? Not right now. They don't have to, right? They don't have to make the 53 man. You got the practice squad. You can sign veterans to the practice squad. It's an offer. It gets them in the building. You can decide what you're going to do with them at that point. They can be activated for game day. It's a huge pay cut for what I'm sure most of them are used to making. I'm sure a lot of them are going to want to be able to field offers from other teams. But on the practice squad, they're still able to field offers from other teams. So once week 2, you'll probably see some veterans be very interested in coming to the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Chris Janke, right now, Levi, Teron, Dane are coming back from injuries. I think that's why we have 3 CBs. It will change when people get healthy. You got to protect yourself, man. You got to protect yourself. Pierre says they are unreasonably unhappy with their linebacker room. They're unreasonably happy with their CB room? I disagree with you. I misread that. They're unreasonably unhappy is how I read it. I'm going to take it that that's how you really meant it. They're unreasonably unhappy with their CB. You don't carry 3 cornerbacks on your practice squad if you're happy with the way things are going. You just don't do that. And again, all these things are going to change. One thing you do need to be mindful of is as we take a look at how the practice squad is rolling out. Again, Christian Wade is not a part of it. The Buffalo Bills have not announced anything with Christian Wade yet, but that season-ending shoulder injury, they could keep him as part of the extra practice squad player on the international program. And if he ends up being healthy by the end of the year, he can be activated off of that to be brought up to a game. Maybe that's the way that it goes. I don't know. John Marlowe says the Bills are only happy with the D linemen. That front line looks great. I mean, what a makeover that is from the previous year, right? So you take a look at the resources they dumped in that defensive line, and you look at the pressure that they were generating from the inside during those preseason games, and boy, does it feel good, right? Boy, does it feel good. You also have Pierre mentioning the wide receiver room. Emmanuel Sanders is a facelift to this wide receiver group. In my opinion, I was super thrilled with the Emmanuel Sanders signing. And then you go and you see that the Bills only kept 2 tight ends, but it's 2 tight ends by name. Reggie Gilliam was a do-anything player for Toledo. Like, he did everything for them. He played tight end. He played running back. He played fullback. He did anything you asked him to do, and he's still doing that in Buffalo. So, like today at the practice, One Bills Drive today, he was doing all tight end drills. He's sort of your do-anything player. And if you take a look at the dynamic of what's in that tight end room, you only got 2. You got Sweeney, you got Knox in name order, right? And then you do have Gilliam, who will supplant that for you. Now, you do have Spencer Brown, who, again, in goal line packages, I would expect him to be tackle eligible. Sort of a bigger Lee Smith, fine, right? You're rolling with that. That's fine. Totally good with that. Because I'm expecting big things from Emmanuel Sanders. I think his football IQ is off the charts. It's off the charts. You don't stay in this league as long as he has and play with the quarterbacks that he has. Think of the QBs that Emmanuel Sanders has played with, man. He's played with the list. Like, you talk about the guys that you want to play with. He's played with the list. He's played with Big Ben. He's played with Alex Smith. He's played with Peyton Manning. He's played with Drew Brees. And now he's with Josh, and he loves it. What does that tell you, man? Like, he's a savvy player, savvy, the savvy that your tight end room doesn't have. So I'm really expecting quite a bit out of Emmanuel Sanders. I'm super pumped with it. Pepe laughs says Gilliam is basically depth in 3 positions. It's exactly right. You got it. And those bottom roster spots, I hate to refer to a player as a bottom roster spot, but in those bottom roster spots, you have to be versatile. You got to find a way to do what you got to do to help. He's going to play special teams for you. He'll do anything for you. Antonio Williams really was a player like that as well at the running back position. Antonio Williams fits that mold as well, where great special teams player, right? Great special teams player. Should be on an NFL roster just for playing special teams. Probably will end up on an NFL roster at some point. Probably will, right? That's kind of what I think. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. Paul from Hashtag. Again, join us September 11th. #golf tournament. If you're not a golfer, just come for dinner. We're going to do a live show afterwards, town hall setting. We're all going to be there hanging out. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have some drinks. It's going to be a great time. We're going to do silent auction. There'll be giveaways and stuff like that. So come on down. Let's raise some money for a great cause. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for caring about the practice squad for 40 minutes. This is like great news for me. When people give a crap about the practice squad, that helps my heart. Because this is the only time that people care about the practice squad. And the Bills are doing a great job of retaining their own. But I'm telling you right now, don't think that this is forever for them. It's not. The Bills are going to start taking advantage of those 6 veteran practice squad spots because they're not really using them right now. There's really only one player on it who's got any NFL experience that would qualify for a veteran spot. So don't be shocked if you see the Buffalo Bills start adding players that those names, you're like, oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, I remember this guy. Oh, I've heard of this guy. I've heard of this guy. Oh, this guy started 12 games last year. And they show up on your practice squad. That's a sign of a strong organization. This is how you build a winner, right? From the bottom up. Bean's doing a great job. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys for joining. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Have a good one. Come join Paul and Mario at Diamond Hawk Golf Course Saturday, September 11th for the #Sports Not So Invitational. Come golf with these idiots in this 4-person scramble, which will feature golf with cart, dinner, hole-in-one contest, silent auction, and a live show with all proceeds benefiting Matthew 25 Farms. Registration could be found in the description of this video, and if you'd like to sponsor, email us at htagsports@gmail.com to help raise money for this great charity.
You? Are you signing up for that? I'm not.
All right, later, everyone.